Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. If I've not met you before, my name's Tarot with AnneMarie and this is a tarot tutorial. What tutorial are we doing this week? We're doing the Four of Swords. And this is a tutorial that is weekly and we're going through the sword family. And the sword family is all about governing the element of air, which is all to do with our communication. Our communication with ourselves, our thoughts, and our mental capacity, how we think, how we view reality, and how we converse with other people, and the effects of other people's communication that can affect our mindset. Now, there we have the Four of Swords. And so the Four of Swords shows this carving of a golden knight resting on a tomb inside a church. The church shows us a place of faith, doesn't it? It also represents a place of protection from the outside world. This knight has sought to seek place to rest, to recoup, to heal. This place, this church, is offering him solitude and peace and a retreat from and the capacity to be able to reflect upon life. Above him in this picture, the Four of Swords, as you can see next to me, is a stained glass window. And if you look very carefully, you can see that it's showing a priest blessing someone kneeling before him. And this indicates a scene of healing. And so there is faith that things will get better. So when the light's shining down through this window, it covers the night with its colour. Yet it's also what the knight would see if he was to look up the golden beams. And it's the healing he needs for the mind, because remember I mentioned that the swords are all about the communication and how the mind is working. The healing that our figure is seeking is for the mind, and maybe the spirit, and maybe even the body. So carrying on from the Three of Swords, this might be why we've got the Four of Swords, the heart rate, time to recoup, rest, go into retreat. Looking again at that stained glass window, if you look carefully, there's a thick black line between the priest on the left and the kneeling man on the right of our stained glass window to the left of our card. So our golden knight may need to rest and drop some of his barriers down in order to regain his strength. So we can look at it as in that's a bit of a barrier, and that maybe he's keeping his barriers up, as one would if we are recouping. The knight's armor indicates that a fight has drained all of his energy. And remember, it's swords, so it's the mental capacity. And it's showing that it's time to rest, to go into retreat, as the swords may have won the battle, but not the war. And here he needs to recover and catch his breath. Remember, communication, swords, the air that we breathe, how we express ourselves, how we think, how we view reality. And the man is golden, which represents time to have a higher perspective and to connect maybe to that chakra, which is to find joy. And his outer daily life might need to be on hold while he rests, recoups, recovers. He looks a bit like a statue, and we can see he's very still and he's not interacting with anything, and he's even got his eyes closed. And he's not wearing a helmet, despite the fact that he is a knight, which leaves his head bare. So without any protection, he's unable to protect himself from thoughts, because the helmet would do that. So right now, his mind needs to be free, not encased by that helmet, which would leave him seeing the world through a very narrow opening, which is a helmet's designed for battle, isn't it? the battle's over now and he needs to come to terms with his lot. So there is a need for our higher meditative connection to restore the mind and to find enlightenment. And it's a time to find some peace that's been forced into this knight's life. If we look carefully, we can see his head is lying on a pillow, which represents a time to rest the mind, even literally sleep if the body is tired. He may be physically unwell. He may need to take a break from the stress of life. Look at his hands that are held in prayer, symbolizing he's asking help, guidance, healing, safety. And he wishes to seek a higher source for the solution to his issues. And he needs this withdrawal from life in order to be productive. And the tomb is a sign of burial and of an ending. And so the card symbolizes a quiet time out, a renewal, something being sought where we can put our mind to rest, to heal, to work through the disruption of the things that have happened in our lives, to sleep, to allow our problems to go into our subconscious selves in order for that higher energy to sort out the jumble that we are allowing our thoughts to roll while we sleep. And the tomb brings light to a complete stop. So it takes us away from others, which can lead to feeling that maybe we're incarcerated or in some sort of a prison. But it is protection. And at times, this can be a decision, of course, that we need to make ourselves. Yet more often than not, it can show that this can be enforced and we can be incarcerated to withdraw, to have that period of time where we have no choice but to be away from the world, to recover and get ourselves back together. Now, in some other editions of this card, the knight is lying on a white surface rather than a golden one. It depends on your deck. This is the Rider-Waite deck, and this is the big Rider-Waite deck. So many I have, and so many out there that perhaps I don't have, but it depends on the one you're looking at. If it was white, it would be adding purity and sincerity to the knight's needs, often representing a new beginning from a blank slate. So his desire here is to find a fresh start, a time to resolve or to remove any old issues. Now, if we look above the actual tomb itself, we can see that 3 swords are hanging, whilst the 4th sword is tucked and lies underneath them. So the 3 swords above the knight, like the 3 of swords itself, remind us of the pain that he has endured, which still hangs over him, by the way, and still needs to be resolved. One is hanging over his head, showing that his thoughts are indeed affected, and it lines up over his eyes, leaving him having witnessed painful truth. The middle sword is over his heart, bringing forwards the painful emotions, and the last one is over the solar plexus chakra, which shows him feeling insecure and off balance. Next to the 3 swords is a line running down the side of the window, and at the end of this is a carving of the animal's head. Perhaps you can see that to the right of the stained glass window there, very tiny. Now, this might be a jackal-headed anubis, which can be found in the Wheel of Fortune, of course, or it might be a jackal or a fox, we're not sure. But the latter 2 are about the dead, but the anubis takes the dead to weigh their hearts. The bad is eaten and the good ascends to heaven. So that's a little about that. Very tiny detail there. Within a church setting, maybe it's here to take away his pains. Some may be small or large things which have died in his life and brought this knight to this place of refuge, allowing him to be reborn when he actually leaves. And the way out of the issues might remove the mental burdens once he's strong enough to carry on, as this carving might be symbolic of those things that are eating away at him. And there is a single, oh lovely, thanks Carla. The single golden sword on the tomb links to his outer life, which leads to life events that force break from his day-to-day physical existence. And if it's not willing to break, then it will happen by force as a situation which has affected the mind, the body, simply can't go on because it can lead to illness and the intervention of stress and upset. So his ability to fight has been taken away, exhaustion. And so he seeks the refuge of the mind away from everyone, as he needs to deal and heal with his issues alone. Like the Ace of Swords, this golden sword shows potential for clarity, healing, truth to be gained from his situation, and he can fight again. But for now, he needs to escape it all for a little while. And although the Three of Swords is showing the pain, the suffering, and a need to resolve problems, the sword on the tomb indicates that this is not an ending, but more of a time to heal after enduring a situation or ending a situation where, he stopped play. And this card can refer to illness, a time to recoup, but mainly it represents a retreat from the harsh realities that the swords bring. And swords again being communication and thoughts, our own and other people's. It's a time to be away from the world and to heal, which will take time. So this is a temporary shelter from life, not a permanent one. And that single golden sword will clear the mind, so the emotions and the thoughts and the body can rise yet again. Now, it's number 4, so in numerology, it's about realization, willpower, and logic. But it's also rebuilding. And 4 is number of stability, and it's about making sure that things are consolidated, and it's rebuilding, putting things in a different way. You're building something. And in this case, it's swords, so it's to do with the mind, healing, and the actual communication from oneself and towards others, and what others maybe have said that are painful. So a break from life and a situation or the stress will be required or enforced, and it's a time to take care of oneself. This is a need to unwind and relax and even meditate, to listen to your body and your mind, especially if you've been dealing with a big problem or a lot of issues. Sometimes it can be that we need to recoup so badly that it might be a hospital stay or a duvet day. It's just about needing time alone, a time of retreat from life, so we can recharge the batteries and find that inner peace and new direction. Now, the 4 of Swords shows a time to retreat from other people, from life, from problems, and some time is needed to find space to mend and resolve how we feel about that. And any situations that take your energy should be left. And this is a card that often comes up when we have ignored the fact that we need to rest or resolve a problem. And we keep battling on with issues and working too hard, and we don't let go. And then we end up with sheer exhaustion. Yet it can also be that sudden conflict or disputes have knocked us down and left us praying for things to get better. So this is a card that gives us a break from that routine and lets us put the past into its perspective and let any changes be felt and understood before moving on. It's a time for us to meditate on what is no longer suitable for us, to heal, let the body heal, let the mind heal. Let me play you this. So, some key words there while I took a break myself from communicating to you. Mine came as water rather than laying down. This is a time for us to be still and quiet, and we'll gain that relief because we have become tired of fighting or worrying. And a calm time with oneself is guaranteed and very much needed. Even if the focus is upon needing to seek a place of solitude for maybe just a single issue, you need that peace to be able to have your own impartial advice rather than what's whirring around and exhausting you. It can sometimes bring a need for us to actually feel hurt, lick our wounds, just accept that there's been setbacks and that maybe it's done a lot of damage, maybe to our pride. So if we don't go into that retreat, it may lead to the isolation of anxiety and loneliness. Some more keywords. I just gave you some, didn't I? Mental exhaustion, stress, overwhelmed, needing a retreat, time out, healing, peace and quiet, solitude, preparation, sleeping on your problems, regrouping, coming to terms, self-protection, spiritual counseling even, spiritual support. We connect in meditation to these things. Keeping the faith because we've got the church there. Confinement, that's been away from everything. Sanctuary, even makes me think of a coma sometimes. And so that allows the body, doesn't it, to heal. So as we're looking at this card, the Four of Swords, I can immediately feel that everything is solemn and still. And we're silently gazing upon that figure of a knight in a tomb. And the tomb lies within a very spiritual building. And if we can close our eyes for a minute, you could almost smell the church, the smells, the polish, the candle wax, the incense. And we can get a sense of what that knight is feeling in such a place. Now, the knight is clad in a suit of armor. So we must assume that he's already been engaged in a battle. And so there's the need to protect himself. As I said earlier, the helmet's missing, which means that either this knight has passed away and no longer needs it, but I don't think so, or he's found a place of sanctuary where he feels safe from attack. So over the knight's head hangs those swords. And we encountered them, of course, in the Three of Swords. And the reason they're there is a reminder of why he needs to recover, because it brought pain, hurt, trauma, stress, and pierced viciously through the heart. So we know that the heart belonged to the injured figure in this scene, and the Three of Swords still hangs over him in a very threatening manner, letting us know his problems may not have gone away. However, this knight's definitely been on the front line for too long, and through injury or exhaustion, doesn't have the energy to keep going into the fight or the battle. So he's retreated from that and found sanctuary in a spiritual place, such as this church, or maybe it's a monastery. He's tired, he's wounded and exhausted, and he's carried maybe by others to a quiet, secluded area, or he's laid himself down to rest in a tomb-like bed. If you notice the cushions there, that's giving him comfort, just representing all the blows to the actual head that he has suffered. And he's mentally worn out from the stress in this life, and he needs restful sleep and proper nourishment. So the upset and pain experienced by the three have definitely taken their toll. And there is the knight, this poor knight, stepping back, distancing himself from his problems or his issues, just for a moment. He's gone to some safe place for the time being, and the wounds inflicted may be physical, from the Three of Swords, or emotional or psychological. We know it's all related to communication, but it can have that effect on the entire body. Although the knight's looking as if he's dead, it's not likely to be the case. He's simply overwhelmed by this entire situation, which has knocked his legs out from underneath him. And he's either taken to this bed himself, or he's been ordered there by others. The knight needs to understand that he's not immortal. We all need a reminder of that sometimes, don't we? There is no one way that anyone could have expected him to keep going under such circumstances. So it's good to know that our human limitations. And he was probably running on empty for some time, and this crash was bound to happen. We've definitely got the fact that the knight's realised that he can no longer do what he's been doing under such circumstances. So he's got to step back, he's got to retreat from the situation, and he's got to give himself time to get his head together and recalibrate. If he's got any sense, he's chosen to lie down and recharge his batteries, and he's done it voluntary. Or maybe it's been forced on him. We don't know, do we? Now, as a knight, this might be really difficult for him because knights are not used to resting or standing still or taking their time. However, this knight needs to. And he needs to understand that this too will pass. This inactivity will not be forever. He must also realize that just because he lies there as still a stone, it doesn't mean he's not internally active. The mind is still going, the subconscious, maybe the conscious reality. So the knight will discover that when he lies down and steps back from this external din and clamour of the battle, that the silence and tranquility will help him gain perspective and balance. It'll allow him to get time to get to grips with the critical issues. Those three swords that hang above him might suggest he's got multiple problems, but in reality, the fourth sword that lies horizontally is probably the most pressing. I was always taught that is his strength in reserve. It's the one that he needs to focus on. It's the one that's the most helpful. Because by prioritizing and dealing with the main problem, the pettiness of the others will probably just evaporate. And he must ask himself, what is the real problem? And once he's identified that instead of it all being too much, he'll make it his number one priority. Now, as a sword personality, he's going to use logic, because it's the suit of swords, and he's going to use reason to find solutions, as long as he gives himself that space. Understanding will filter from his subconscious to his conscious in this state. And as we silently watch this knight, who's totally worn out, we know his hands are joined in prayer, so that he is asking for some sort of prayer to his God, and support him through this challenging time. And the stained glass window perhaps shows that his prayers have been heard. The knight might lie on a grey, cold tomb, but his body is bathed in the glow of that yellowy golden light that's streaming in from the stained glass, bringing a comforting message from above that all will be well. Even though he looks like a solitary figure on his tomb, he's not alone. Others are there in the church to help or to watch over him. And he may be withdrawn, and he may not be communicating, and not his usual self. But peaceful nature of the room that he's in symbolizes that, like a hospital bed or just a peaceful, calm unit where we are not disturbed. And the physical body can typically break down when stress reaches huge, significant levels. And it doesn't matter what effort we've got, we cannot control or restrain it. Illnesses of all kind probably are root cause in stress. So understanding the psychological illness can help definitely result in stress, and we must acknowledge that we need to grieve or be in a place of allowing ourselves to have that bereavement and that trauma, and that it's going to leave physical scars. So the knight succumbed to this situation. He's not taken the steps to heal with all of his problems, but if he doesn't, he will become ill indeed. On the positive side, the four swords are very temporary usually, and a full recovery can always be expected. It's a bit like when we are feeling overwhelmed. Taking time out, meditation, going somewhere, a church, somewhere peaceful, those kind of things are going to help the mind to just heal. Even if you've got stress in your working space and we just walk away, get some air. When you're outside, you're grounding yourself, you're allowing your thoughts to heal, you're allowing yourself to decompress. So we are in states of meditation all the time, by the way. Meditation is just where we let thoughts roll, where we daydream, if you like, where we stare, where we watch something, but we don't really see it. It's just in the background, we're half listening, background stuff. Quite often, we're in and out of those kind of states, but they're disturbed and not allowed to go on long enough. And that's where this is really important, that we allow our knight the time it takes. He can't stay there forever, we know that. So he needs peace in order to complete his recovery. And as I said, it's essential that he knows that he cannot stay there forever. It's only temporary. And it must be that he is made to rest, to get better. He's got to be willing to release all those other swords that hang over him and to reconcile his situation. He'll be expected to have gained some deep understanding of his predicament, and then, of course, his share of the responsibility for that. If we're accountable, we are much more in control, we are much more able to actually not be at the mercy of someone or something. And if it is the fact that there has been a loss, bereavement, he must learn to accept, to grieve, because loss is a natural part of life, and he must know that he is alive, and he must be prepared to start anew with hope and faith. So he must wake up and take the necessary steps to join the living once again. But he'll do that because he's alive and he's made of solid stuff. So he'll come out of this coma-like state and live to fight another battle another day. The real meaning of this card, if you're reading it, is the Four of Swords generally suggests that you're mentally overwhelmed and stressed by a particular situation or multiple situations. Intense pressure surrounds you and your mind's overloaded, making it really hard to think clearly. And the upset in the Three is taking its toll. The Three of Swords, if you're not sure about that, go back to the video that I did last week, all about how to read the Three of Swords. See it on the playlist, my channel. And do subscribe, because then you can find me again, know when we're going live, and if we're available to join us, you'll know where to find us so that you can continue learning, because I am aware that it's perhaps a little bit different to anything else you may have seen on YouTube with the consistency. This is a series. Doesn't matter if you're not going in chronological order, but if it helps you, and I think the Four of Swords relates to the Three of Swords quite a bit here, go back to that video, please, okay? So the Three is taking its toll, and that suggests that this is something that's happened, there's something that's passed. Now it's about dealing with how you feel and what it's done to you, and how you're feeling this exhaustion, mental exhaustion. It's about being mentally and emotionally wounded, and we can no longer cope, unfortunately. So the best thing that you can do is step back and distance yourself from the situation until you're strong enough to face it yet again. Facing your situation might include backing down from conflict. You might also have to accept that something is over. Maybe there's some friendship or relationship. The Four of Swords typically represents a bit of a low time. It's a time when people can't reach us, our friends, our family, where we just go inside ourselves. And it represents that you need to deal with that. And the figure just might want to release everything inwardly and let his thoughts roll. And that stability will come back. He knows that, but he can't do it without the energy. So you can't deal with your situation in your current state, and you need to distance yourself. Basically, regroup, recharge your worn out batteries. At the moment, you're running on empty. And so it's an essential time that you must take time out, and it will definitely put you in a much better place to deal with your problems. You'll find peace, solitude, and the sooner you actually relax and rest, the sooner the better. So the night lying on that tomb probably is speaking to all of us and imploring us to do so when we need to. When that time is there, it's a reminder. And the rest might be just for a certain period. No one can rush it. It might be convey day or mental health sort of rest day, where you nourish yourself and that you sleep. And the deeper, the better. So it's a time for you to turn your back on the world and retreat from everyone and everything. Go into your home, bolt the door, and take relaxation at your leisure. Because the Four of Swords warns us of the consequences of not caring for our health, especially our mental health, because it's swords, when we are suffering stressful times. So if you're currently coping, and this card is saying that, you know, if you're close to the edge, better that you take the necessary steps to take a break rather than have it forced upon you. And so the person in this card might not be you. It might be happening to someone close, family, friends, people at work, and someone may have been through a really tough time and they may be coping. But the reality of how people cope might differ, mightn't it? And we can be confused and feel totally powerless, and people keep their worries to themselves. It's a time of turmoil and upset where we can't see the woods for the trees. We're not meant to. We're meant to be in a calm, non-judgmental place where maybe third parties, like friends or outside influences, can bring a new perspective and clarity. And that could be friend, family, spiritual, counselor, religious, something we read, something we hear. Where your problems are concerned, you might need to take a long, hard look at what they are. And is it really worth all this worry? If you sort one of them out, it might sort everything out rather than feeling that you've got multiple problems, which it will seem like, but if you deal with one and prioritize it, it will help you to sort your head out. Deal with the critical issue. Find the surrounding ones will probably just vanish. So the Four of Swords raises the possibility that you may have dealt with a very unpleasant situation and now you're finding it hard to face people, or you might just not have the actual energy to do that. So you need to perhaps lock the doors, batten down the hatches, as it were, and refuse to take calls or look at social media. Whatever it is you need to do, sometimes we need to just allow our thoughts to roll, to deal with why we feel like we do, and whether or not it's something that's been going on with us. Okay, let's show you this PDF that might help you, and they're full of keywords. Sometimes it's nice to keep it simple, basic, but these are words that I would use as a professional, and you probably won't find them in other worksheets, or I hate the word cheat sheets, as everyone says. They're keywords. And yeah, this just goes right through. And there we are. Just to help. It's only a couple of pounds. There we are. Four of Swords tells us to rest before we take on that next challenge. And we've reached an important part of a milestone, and we must recharge our energy before we go to the next phase, because as it begins, we need to be refreshed and ready to go. So we've reached an important milestone. We've got this card, and we need to recharge the batteries and get the energy going before we can take on that next phase. And so we need to be refreshed and ready to go. Give you a little bit more about what this is all about. You're someone that's highly productive and you're really driven. You need to take time out of your busy schedule to restore your energy and heal the body and the mind. And constant stress and tension will break even the hardest and most resilient of people. So brief periods of rest. No one said anything about checking into a clinic. Remember I said duvet day, take a mental health rest day. And if you need longer, sure. But we do need to refresh the energy, and the concentration and the focus will then come ready for that next challenge. So if you've been going through tough times recently, maybe traumas, breakups, departures, family, relationships, financial worries, health scares, being, stress, conflict, then the Four of Swords comes as a sign for all of us to take a step back, gather and regain perspective. So if we take a day off work, travel to a new destination, take a walk in the park, Go outside at lunchtime, even if it's raining or hailing or snowing or shining and it's boiling hot, doesn't matter. And I live in a place where we get all of that. But we always go for a walk because I earth myself. I'm walking on the earth quite simply down the lane, past the grass, despite the fact that it's well overgrown at the moment and needs somebody to come along and cut it all back. My point is that you are able to allow your body to charge with the earth. And yes, even better if you're touching something that is growing and living, like plants, flowers. Pastime of mine when I'm walking the dogs, I walk 5 of them. My hubby walks the other 5, and 1 stays at home. So you work that out. Numerology there, 11, huh? All rescued. Yeah, we've got a big old outside space. That's in for them. And I don't have any children. They're my children. I try and bring them back, let them recover. They were traumatized. So this is a place and a sanctuary for them. Just like we have animal sanctuaries. I know I didn't go out to. They found me just quite by accident. Only 2 that actually my neighbour said, "You love Shih Tzus, don't you, AnneMarie?" And it's, "Oh, yes, I love your 2. There's puppies. They weren't rescued, they were chosen simply because I adore Shih Tzus. So there you go. What my point is, a sanctuary isn't just humans or living things can actually need time to actually heal from life and what it throws. And as I said, out of the 11 that we have, there are 9 that, yeah, they're recouping and recharging. And it can take time and it can manifest itself in trauma in so many different ways. And so I've got 1 that should be in the office upstairs now where I take my calls and get all the stuff ready, as in to make the show look like it does a week ahead or 2 or 3 or months like it is sometimes. Things I've got months ahead, some I haven't. But she'll be there waiting, hiding from the world. And even if I go out, she likes to take herself away. She's shy, something happened, but it was trauma. And yes, of course, I'm a psychic, so I can feel it. And yeah, it happens. And some bounce back quicker than others, don't they? Some, it just leaves their mark. Yeah, sometimes we are presented with horrible challenges and we need to stay silent and inactive. And now's the time for us as humans to build our mental strength by clearing our mind, letting our thoughts roll, letting it decompress. Don't concentrate on, oh, I just need to actually let my mind go blank. It won't. Not unless you've trained yourself to. It's a bit like when you are in a bit of a trance, it's because you're probably watching telly. All of a sudden, your thoughts are rolling, and you go, oh gosh, what happened? I'm not sure what went on there. That's a moment. But that's not what I'm saying, having the television on and being forced back because you think you're missing something. Much better if you're in a position to say, how about you allow yourself to just relax? Tranquil music. And one of my recommendations is there's so many beautiful spiritual types of music out there. One of my absolute favourites, I've got so many by him, is Medwin Goodall. He's fabulous. And that really will take you somewhere else because it's fantasy, magical, beautiful music. And if I was allowed to share with you on YouTube, I would happily do. But go and look him up. Medicine Woman, casting spells. It's magical. And it will take you to a place where it's a break. And that's all you need. Walk in the park and walk down the lane. Get out of the office. Get out of your home if you work from home. I have to. And you know what? The more you move, the more you're doing for your body, your mind, your body, your soul. You really are. Because it replenishes your strength and it allows you to connect to your higher self. And for us all, it's just needing to be secluded. And you need that solitude to negotiate the situation, the time apart from other people, to gather your thoughts and feelings. Following on from maybe painful losses like the Three of Swords, the Four gives you that chance to spend time and reevaluate things in your life. Solitude is sometimes very difficult for us to bear, but it's necessary for us to recharge our batteries and find that we are rejuvenating our spirit. So this solitary experience can bear the fruit of much greater inner strength and confidence. Retreat from the pain, conflict, or the distractions, and rid yourself of stress and anxiety. Look inward for a real change. Meditate. In a practical sense, the Four of Swords is an indicator that you just need some time to review your progress so far. Look at it like that. It's an excellent time maybe to reassess your priorities. It's a bit like saying, I'm just taking a moment to actually recalibrate things. And yeah, that was a significant challenge or time or a major milestone. And so you need that time and space to evaluate what worked well, what didn't, and what needed to change, or what you might need to change going forwards. And pausing to reflect, even after major challenges, will position us really well for success in the future. It really works. Just take time out from your workload momentarily to reduce from the maddening busy schedule. Have a break. Take a time to look at where you want to go, where you want to play, where you want to have fun, where are your hobbies, organise a holiday. Take advantage of maybe sabbaticals from work, extended sort of days off or service or leave, or even having a career break, especially if it's been really stressful. It's one of those times about taking a personal break and allowing yourself to not over-focus on anything, to allow your thoughts to roll, which is what I call meditation. And they will go into retreat when necessary. They'll take themselves off. Got to go. I'm off to bed. No, I need to leave. See you later. I won't be persuaded to do anything because they know themselves well. They also know when they need to give themselves sleep or that time to be inactive, to be passive. So this is a person may need extra time. So Four of Swords personality is somebody that needs more time and space than most people. They might need more time and space when it comes to making a decision. If this card is actually coming up, as in you in a reading, you just need to take a step back and reflect upon what it is that you most want. And it's essential that you are able to just allow yourself to contemplate what's going on. Do you need to rest? How can I quieten my thinking? Powerful message. Take time out. And don't get yourself into a place of exhaustion. We don't need to run on empty. We don't need to do something. But if your body's telling you it's time to rest and relax, just take it in. Don't think of this as being in a tomb in a church and that's it, or a clinic or anything like that. It can be, but no, it's more like maybe having a rest, having 40 winks, quick nap, 20 minutes meditation, those kind of things. And it allows us to look at anything that's stagnant in our life and anything that's been frustrating us, and tells us where to get the energy flowing better. It can also make us feel frustrated because we're lacking progress and we don't want to take time out. But that's part of the challenge and the change. And sometimes when a situation is frustrating, it's sometimes good to step back and wait. And that's really all I've got to say about the Four of Swords. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. I'll see you Tuesday for tarot combinations, which is where we put two cards together and fuse it and show you how to read this card that we've been studying, the Four of Swords, with the other cards, and they are major cards. I'll be showing you how to do that, so don't miss anything on Tuesdays, Tarot Twists, okay? So from me, AnneMarie, have a great weekend, and I'll see you soon. Bye.